Alright, we're live. Apologies for technical difficulties. I don't know what the hell is going on. YouTube is kind of buggy sometimes. But let's just talk about EIP 1559, right? Because that's a lot of ETH being burnt. Today there's this thing, NFT project called CyberKong's VX that burned 1400 ETH in the past couple hours actually. I think earlier today, like, gas was like at 1,000 Gwei. I don't know if you can see the historical. Yeah, you can see the historical gas here. Absolutely wild. It's crazy how the NFT boom kind of happened post EIP 1559. It kind of seems like someone planned it, right? Just like start EIP 1559, then buy a bunch of JPEGs and just burn a bunch of ETH, which is pretty funny. But anyways, I'll talk about NFTs later in the Q&A section. But I know a lot of you are here for this part, right? Avalanche, Cardano, and discussing, what does Q4 look like in 2021? Because I personally think it's going to be like a multi-chain farming environment in Q4. Just because I'm starting to see all these ecosystems start to develop. I don't really think these ecosystems give you like a great opportunity in the near term, but in the short to midterm, in the midterm, I think it'll present some good opportunities. So, let's get into it. Actually, how's the audio? I haven't live streamed in a while, so just gotta make sure. This guy in the comments says, it's the Cardano influence. To deploy a live stream, it takes a lot of time and effort, but it will change the world. Like, what is going on? That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. But that being said, let's get into it. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I'm looking into both the Avalanche and the Cardano ecosystem deeper, just because there's lots of development. And you might be asking, like, why Avalanche and Cardano and not the other ecosystems like Phantom, Harmony, just name all those ecosystems, right? And I always look back to the humble farmer thesis because that's one of the pillars behind this channel. It's, how do we deploy capital in all of these ecosystems, right? Because if you look through social media, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, there's like random shills everywhere discussing like, hey, Phantom to the moon, Harmony to the moon, Avalanche to the moon, Cardano to the moon. It's really hard to cut through all the noise and, be humble and decide where to deploy your capital, right? And that's why I developed the humble farmer thesis. It's essentially a mental model to think about where is the best place to deploy my capital with the lowest opportunity cost. Because, we all have a fixed amount of assets to deploy, right? We're all not whales here, myself not included. So it's impossible for me to have funds in all, let's say all 10 ecosystems, because that's cutting myself short. There's opportunity cost, there's a bunch of fees associated with bridging. So I think it's best to focus, your efforts and my efforts, and especially my capital into, let's say, 2 to 4 ecosystems, right? It can change, obviously, as more and more ecosystems develop over time. So the humble farmer thesis just looks at, okay, what are the things that need to happen in order for a particular ecosystem, like Avalanche, to be profitable in the short to mid term? Well, the humble farmer thesis says 2 things. For a good farming environment, you first need an AMM with good liquidity and a farm. This is really easy. Every ecosystem has an AMM, right? You just fork Uniswap, introduce a native token, and just like give it away, right? So, number 1 is a really easy requirement to fulfill. But the more difficult part, and what a lot of ecosystems do not have, is a trusted and reliable money market. And keep in mind that the humble farmer thesis only looks at the current viability of these ecosystems. Just because an ecosystem is not viable now doesn't mean that it can't be in the future, right? So hypothetically, like all right, well, okay, I think we're back. Yeah, I was way too humble with the Wi-Fi. I'm trying to save money, trying to stack more sats. I actually have pretty good Wi-Fi, but I changed my Wi-Fi, so hopefully this works. All right, I don't know where was I left out? When did I get rugged? Sorry to rug you guys. Xfinity or Verizon rugged us. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna go here because I don't know where where I got rugged, but essentially the most important part of the humble farmer thesis is yield farms follow TVL, not the other way around. Devs are going to chase the hot ball of money, meaning more farms will be built where there's a money market with high TVL. Because if you're a developer, like hypothetically, let's say you're a developer trying to build a farm, would you rather build a farm with an ecosystem with $200 million in TVL, or would you rather build a farm with an ecosystem with $10 billion in TVL? Obviously, the ecosystem with more money, like more TVL, will present a better opportunity for your application to be successful, right? So whether a developer is a profit maxi or actually trying to change the world, it's more likely that applications will be built where there's more money, and it's more likely that ecosystems will have more money if there's a trusted and reliable money market. And that's why I'm gonna jump into the Avalanche ecosystem. Build it, and they will come. I think money market is the most important part, because if you look at all the ecosystems like Ethereum and like Polygon, I think Aave is the number one application on both Ethereum and Polygon, right? In terms of TVL. And I think number two is like Compound and like Maker, right? They're all money markets because money markets allow the flexibility for for you to construct your portfolio in a way to not incur like capital gains when selling your assets, and I guess the flexibility to still have exposure to the majors like Bitcoin and ETH, while still being able to borrow against it and take stablecoin loans and borrow and farm with that. Sorry, I haven't live streamed in 2 weeks, so like I might be stuttering here and there. But let's go over Avalanche because there was a lot of hype with Avalanche. I think earlier this year, I think it went to like $50. If you look at the chart, there was actually like one day when Avalanche went up like 80%. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then it dumped like $15 or $10. Because, I mean, it entered a bubble, right? I mean, how can Avalanche go to $50 when there's nothing built on it? But now there are things being built on it, so there could be, I guess, merit to holding the Avalanche token. Full disclosure, I have never purchased Avalanche. I've never purchased Cardano either, right? So I'm still in the research phase. I'm still looking into it. I may or may not buy them in the future, but yeah, never purchased them in my life. Avalanche never interested me because they never had a money market, but obviously that changes. And if you look at the entire ecosystem right now, we see that it has $200 million of TVL, and like 95% of it is in Pangolin, which is the AMM, right? Like, why would you ever deploy capital in Avalanche when all you can do is provide liquidity? There's nothing else you can do. And I argued that, hey, a money market will change things. So when I saw this news, that this new protocol called Benky, right, had a $3 million liquidity mining incentive on Avalanche, I was like, oh, there you go. Avalanche team is moving. They're doing things. Because the Avalanche team is actually backing this with their own tokens, right? And that's a vote of confidence, right? Because I'm sure like a lot of ecosystems have like random money markets with like, $5 million of TVL. No one uses it. No one really trusts it. But if the Avalanche team is putting their money, their brand, and I guess their voice behind a particular protocol, it leads me to believe that Benky is going to be a legitimate project. And there's actually a YouTube video on the Avalanche YouTube channel where Eamon, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but the founder of Avalanche, Eamon Gunsirer, the founder of Benky, and a couple VCs from Hasib from Dragonfly Capital, Andrew from Mechanism Capital, had like a 50-minute discussion on like the future of Avalanche, future of Benky, and it's pretty comforting to, I guess, have like a video with the founder of Benky and the founder of Avalanche and a bunch of VCs talk about these ecosystems because they're actually putting their name behind it, right? So I'm pretty bullish Benky. I don't really know much about it. It's not even open to the public yet, but I will for sure be deploying capital there, right? It doesn't mean that I'll be buying Avalanche, but I'll definitely be farming it. So if you're interested in Avalanche token, this is going to be a good way for you to farm those tokens because it's a money market. It's going to be launched the 19th of August, right? So that's in 4 days. It's pretty good. So $3 million of AVAX, right, the Avalanche token, will be allocated as liquidity incentives for Benky users. So it's similar to, I guess, the Aave money market on Polygon, where you deposit collateral, you earn interest, and on top of that, you earn Matic tokens, right? So starting the 19th of August, you'll deposit capital, and you'll be paid AVAX and key tokens, right? Which is pretty nice. And it'll be open for AVAX, ETH, Link, Bitcoin, USDT, and DAI, right? Just a bunch of major assets. And the cool thing is that Chainlink is actually open up to this. So I own some Chainlink, and I have it on BlockFi, but I'm for sure going to be just putting it on Benky just to form Avalanche and Benky. This is what the UI looks like. This is the Fuji testnet, so these are fake numbers, but it doesn't look as nice as like Aave, but it's still a money market. It's backed by the Avalanche team, so hey, like I'm gonna deploy capital, right? All right, and this is how the distribution will be split amongst the different pools for the first 90 days. This is for the key tokens, not Avalanche. It says in the lower paragraph that they're going to announce how the Avalanche tokens will be distributed in the upcoming days. But they're giving out AVAX tokens and key tokens, right? So I can imagine the APYs to be pretty high. I mean, obviously it depends. Like if Benky gets like $5 billion in TVL, then the rates are going to be like really bad. But I'm assuming that in the earlier days, people won't know about it. So I can imagine maybe like I'll deposit Chainlink. Maybe I'll be paid like 5-10%, which is like pretty good, especially if I can like farm AVAX for free and key tokens. It's funny because I was farming QI, the ticker QI on Polygon, right? If anyone remembers that back in May. And which was also like a MakerDAO fork. And now there's the same thing called Key on Avalanche with the same spelling, and it's also a money market. So I'm sure that's going to cause confusion, but it is what it is. Yeah, and I guess you can provide liquidity for Key and AVAX, and they're allocating 6.7 million Key tokens per week. That's pretty high. So maybe I'll be in that. I don't know. I have no idea if Key or AVAX will go up, but hey, if I can farm it for free, I'll definitely do it. And I think people should also at least think about it as well. Because if you have, I guess, assets sitting on centralized exchanges, maybe you have a bunch of assets on Aave, on Polygon, well, maybe you can split some of that and put it into Benky to farm AVAX and Key. And like I said, I don't know if AVAX and Key will go up in value. I'm just going to start farming them just because this opportunity arose. And I think this is a step in the right direction. If there's I feel like I'm the most bullish person on money markets in all of YouTube and all of social media. So, I'm a simple man. I see a money market and I ape in. It's crazy because like I'm super bullish Aave, but I don't even own Aave tokens because I'm not like that bullish governance tokens. I'm more bullish tokenomics like Luna, where you can like actually track like what makes a token go up. I feel like governance tokens are just speculative in nature, and it's hard for me to see value accrual to it. And obviously, like Aave has gone up from like 10 cents to like $400 in the span of like 16 months, 18 months. So obviously they do go up, but I'd rather, me personally, not financial advice, I'd rather invest in something like AVAX, which is like a native token, or something like Luna, Thorchain, stuff like that, where I can directly track how value accrues to the token. So key metrics to follow. So I think TVL on Benky is going to be really important because if you look at, like I mentioned earlier, all the ecosystems, the highest TVL application is always a money market. So if Benky can reach, let's say, $1 billion in TVL, then you can imagine that AVAX, the TVL, will go from 200 million, where it is now, to maybe like 1.5, 2 billion, 3 billion, who knows. And number 3 is the most important, right? Because as farmers, we have to go where there's new farms with good risk rewards. And like I mentioned, like farms will follow liquidity. So assuming that Benky and AVAX, their TVL goes up, we can expect a bunch of applications to be built on it, right? So I'll be tracking Benky, AVAX, and on Rogue Doctor, whether or not new apps are being built on it. So before I go on Cardano, if you go to rugdoc.io, there's actually a section for Avalanche farms. And this is pretty sad right now. there's literally only like 5 apps built on it. Like one's Beefy, which is like on all ecosystems, Elk, which is also on a few other ecosystems, Trader Joe, Lydia, Birdie, like high risk, medium risk, medium risk. Like I'm not that interested, right? But I'm assuming that once Benky launches, let's give it like a month, let's say, right? Have people redeploy their capital from other ecosystems into Benky. I can imagine more apps being built on it, and that's what I'm most looking for. Which is cool because I can deposit my chain link as collateral, earn a bunch of AVAX and key tokens, and let's say I put like $10,000 worth of chain link, right? I'll borrow let's say $3,000 to $4,000 of stable coins, and I can just farm with it, right? And I mean that's the whole point of farming. Just like you don't have to sell your assets, you can use it as collateral, which I think is really, really powerful. So before I touch into Cardano, I'm gonna look into the chat, answer any questions, and I guess I'll like look at the comments and whatnot. Benky sounds like a great name for a budget TV brand. I can see that, yeah. I can see like some off-brand Chinese TV called Benky. Getting rugged on Avalanche will lead to some incredible memes. Like the volcano, yeah, that would make some good memes. Let's see. The fees on Avalanche, I think right now the fees are pretty high. I think whenever you do, so you know how like when on Ethereum or Polygon, it's like dynamic fees, right? When the network is congested, you have to pay more in gas, right? I think on Avalanche right now, there's like a fixed like Gwei amount. I think it's like 225, and that's kind of annoying, right? It's not dynamic. You have to pay 225. But I think in the next month or so, it's going to be dynamic, meaning that if the network is not congested, then you can pay lower fees. So that's just another data point to show that Avalanche is still really, really early, right? It's Benky launching on the 19th doesn't mean that these tokens are going to go up because there's nothing built on Avalanche. But it's a good starting point. I can expect in the next month or two, more apps being built on it, and that's going to fare well for the AVAX token, in my opinion, because if you look at all the other ecosystems like Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, and their native tokens BNB and Matic, right? Like those tokens like went on this incredible bubble whenever like a bunch of money flowed into the ecosystem. So let's say 3 months from now, there's like 50 apps on Avalanche. Yeah, I can expect the Avalanche token to go up in value, but obviously we have to wait and see, right? I can't predict the future, but we can think in probabilities, right? Benky is going to be bullish for Avalanche ecosystem, definitely. So, that being said, let's go into Cardano because this is a really polarizing topic for a lot of people. Either people love Cardano or hate Cardano. I like to think I'm in the middle. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm also not a hater. So let's talk about it. Right? Like I'm personally not a huge fan of Cardano just because I do think it's overvalued. I don't think it makes sense for an ecosystem with 0 smart contracts to be number 3 in terms of like market cap, but I don't think it's a total. I don't think it's a scam either. But despite me think it's overvalued, I still think it's going to present a pretty good opportunity for farmers later in the year because there are smart contracts being live or coming online allegedly, and I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like a pretty bubblicious environment when smart contracts go live in September. I also want to touch on this part, right? Like, so many people hate on Cardano, and I get it, right? It's just like if you're like an Ethereum maxi, like you just like hate on Cardano for like various reasons. But if you're like farming and you're trying to make the most amount of money as possible, you can't like be fixated on all this like maximalism right there, right? Because even though I'm not a huge fan, I do think there's going to be really good risk reward in terms of, I guess, allocating capital. I do think Cardano is going to be a plus EV farm. So I'll for sure be deploying capital when smart contracts are live. And I think they're going to go live September 12th. I don't really know what this means. Like, does it mean that all the applications are going to go live on like September 12th? Or is it going to open up for developers and they're going to it's going to take a few weeks for them to build on top of it? I mean, I know like SundaeSwap and like those projects like are like pretty ready to like launch and stuff, but I'm not really sure on the timeline. So let me know in the chat if I don't consider myself to be a Cardano expert. I've like only been studying it for the past week or so. So I could get things mixed up here and there, but like we all have to start from somewhere, right? And yeah, and I guess it's like a good use of time. It's like I never worried about Cardano when there's like no farms built on it, but as soon as there's news that there will be things built on it, let's pay attention some more. Yeah, because I went over this on my last week's video, Farms of the Week, where I talked about the Cardano a little bit. And like my thesis on why it's such a plus EV farm, right? A positive expected value. Because I think this is what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. I think the ETH maxis, their egos, it's going to prevent them from farming on ADA, right? Let's say hypothetically, like a month from now, there are like 10 apps built on Cardano and they're amazing farms, right? It's low risk. Charles Hoskinson is like backing it, and like there's like it's super low risk. It's audited by like 10 firms. Like let's say it's like this like utopia scenario of like super safe farms at super high yields, right? And there's new money flowing in every single day, so people that's early are just making a lot of money. Even in that scenario, ETH maxis will just not deploy capital on Cardano, right? Because on Twitter and on YouTube they're like, oh, I hate Cardano. Like their friends hate Cardano, so they're just like not going to deploy capital on Cardano. And if you think about it, like if you think about the types of people with the most amount of money in DeFi, it's ETH maxis, right? Because they were early in ETH and they held on to ETH for let's say like 4 years or whatever, and they have a bunch of money. So if ETH maxis aren't going to deploy capital on Cardano, then I'm pretty sure that the yields, even if the yields are really safe and really juicy, it's not going to be diluted as much. Maybe I'm wrong because retail loves Cardano, and maybe like those people will just like super ape in, and maybe that's not good for yields and whatnot. But I think the ETH maxis, their pride and their ego, it's going to be part of our alpha, right? Whoever's watching this right now and whoever's like open-minded to the idea that Cardano can make money for you. And also the second point, I think the ADA Moon Boys will be euphoric, right? And maybe I'm like pooping on Cardano way too much. Maybe ADA is the next greatest thing and it's gonna rival Ethereum. And maybe they're right. Maybe ADA will go to like $50 and whatnot, right? I don't believe that, but maybe. But if you think about it, like Cardano is most popular amongst retail folks, right? Because I feel like whenever someone asks me about crypto, they always ask about like Ethereum and ADA, and I always wonder like why that is. And I think it's because when retail researches projects, they go on YouTube and they like Google like what crypto to buy, and it's always like these like ADA Moon Boys giving out like $100 price targets, like BitBoy, right? That's like $100 Cardano by the end of this year. Buy Cardano now, and you'll be a millionaire, right? And I mean, I obviously don't buy into that, but if you think about it, like these people that hold a bunch of ADA, like they're going to be super excited when smart contracts do go live. And let's say SundaeSwap comes in, and like there's like a bunch of these YouTube videos where like SundaeSwap will make you a millionaire, 100x, 1000x. I feel like there's going to be a lot of retail that are new to DeFi, and it's going to be a good opportunity for folks like you and I to be humble and farm and dump on their faces. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like farmers, like we make money by selling tokens, and I guess the best way to sell tokens is to people that like are going to diamond hands this thing to like whatever price, right? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe SundaeSwap is going to be 100x. Like I don't know, but this is going to be my strategy leading into it. My strategy is that even if I think ADA is overhyped, overvalued, I'm still going to farm on it. And I'm just going to slowly farm and dump, generate income, and just try to ride it out as long as I can. Obviously, depending on your research, depending on your conviction, you can hold Cardano tokens, like hoping it goes to the moon. But, I take a more conservative and humble approach where I see an opportunity, and I'm just gonna take a humble 2-3x, maybe a 50% increase, right? Just gotta be humble and just try to milk it as much as I can. Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what the environment is gonna be like because I'm just speculating, right? I mean, these smart contracts are gonna go live in a month, and from August 15th to like September 12th, a lot of news can change, and maybe there's like maybe it ends up being like 100 applications being built on Cardano. Well, that's going to be really bullish, the Cardano ecosystem, so I might hold on to those tokens. But given what I do know now, my plan is to just farm and dump the tokens over time, just take the profits, not try to sell the top, just ride the bubble as long as I can. Because just look at the price of Matic and BNB, right? And the price of a quick swap and pancake swap, they just go parabolic and they just dump really fast, right? And if Cardano like enters this like euphoric phase, I think the same is going to happen. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a great ecosystem a few years from now. It just means that, hey, let's be real with ourselves. These ecosystems are probably going to enter a bubble, and let's just try to just dollar cost average and just take the gains as much as possible. Yeah, and the two applications I'm watching is Liquid. This is supposedly the best money market, or I guess the most credible money market on Cardano. I follow them. For any of these ecosystems, right? I suggest everyone just make a Twitter account and follow these protocols just so like you know what's going on with them. Because I get like 90% of my news from Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of Twitter. I think it's pretty toxic. I don't really like Twitter, but it's a necessary evil in my opinion. And of course, SundaeSwap. Supposedly the #1 exchange on Cardano, launching soon. I actually listened to an interview with their team members, and they're like really smart people. I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like a lot of people don't do themselves justice by like ignoring Cardano, but if you actually listen to these interviews from Liquid and SundaeSwap, it's like these are really smart people. And I mean, smart people doesn't mean that the farms will make you money, but I think there's potential. And I think if you're a yield maxi or a profit maxi, you gotta look into these ecosystems, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think Saka is one of the better follows on Twitter. And I agree with them. Like, he's also like not a huge ADA fan, but he essentially says, hey, like whether you're a trader, investor, or a farmer, I think deploying capital on Cardano is going to be a no-brainer play for the reasons I mentioned. And I agree, right? Like, even if you're a hater, like it's got to be one of the higher EV plays out there, right? Don't let your maxi friends like stop you from like taking plus EV plays, right? With good risk reward. My plan is going to be to farm and dump on the ADA Moon Boys. That's going to be saying stuff like SundaeSwap to $100 when things are live. That's going to be my plan. And I love Anthony Sassano, right? He's an ETH maxi. I think he's a good follow if you want like Ethereum news. But everyone on Twitter says things like this, right? It's just like, yeah, it's going to be a sell the news event. It's going to dump. And maybe he's right, but I really don't like this type of mentality. I think it like clouds your judgment. And I think Twitter is also toxic because it's kind of like this echo chamber of ETH maxis, like hyping ETH up to their friends, right? And if you think about Twitter, like you only get the things that get shown on your feed are generally things that you agree with, right? So there's confirmation bias there. So I think it's good to always keep an open mind. Yeah, so if you're a Cardano hater, let's be real with ourselves. I think it's a plus EV play. Even if you're a Cardano lover, you have to be realistic with yourself. Like, try to block out all the $1 million price targets or like 1,000x price targets, and just be humble and just take profits, because we all know that those crazy YouTubers are going to start showing it. And this is a good analogy that I like to think of when I talk to like ETH maxis. Like, if you're a farmer, right, and you're a cabbage farmer, right? You farm cabbage, you make a lot of money through cabbage, and you love cabbage, right? I mean, you've farmed cabbage your entire life, and you can't really imagine farming any other vegetable because, the price of cabbage just trends up over time. And I mean, it's made you a lot of money. But what if there's a new fad, right? What if Brussels sprouts become the next biggest thing, right? And it overcomes cabbage in terms of market share. If you're a farmer, if you're farmer Ted here, like, are you gonna stop? Are you gonna ignore Brussels sprouts as a potential revenue source, or are you gonna diversify your farm by, let's say, 50% cabbage, 50% Brussels sprouts, right? Obviously, any smart farmer will start to farm some Brussels sprouts because, you know, you gotta ride the wave. You gotta ride the wave. You gotta generate those those Brussels sprouts and just sell it to retail, right? Because even if Brussels sprouts is a fad, you can always pivot, right? You can go back to farming cabbage for the rest of your life. So similarly, like, you know, like, even though I'm not super bullish on Cardano, I'm gonna farm on it because I think it's gonna be the next Brussels sprouts. And if Cardano is like a great ecosystem, I'll keep farming. And if it dies, then I'll go back to Polygon, Terra, whatever. So I think this, what is this? This metaphor is helpful for anyone in crypto. Like, never marry a farm, never marry a particular ecosystem, and never be a perma hater on any ecosystem. Because our goal is to make money, and to make money, we have to have an open mind. Cool. Yeah, and also, like, I always say plus EV, right? Plus EV doesn't mean that, like, we're all going to make money, but I do think it's going to present a good risk return. So that being said, I'll have a fun time reading through the chat now to see what people are saying, and after this, I guess I'll go through, like, whatever I'm doing right now and answer some questions in the AMA section. Just farm Brussels sprouts and allow them to grow into a big cabbage? Maybe, yeah, maybe. Oh, Farmer Ed's here? Yeah. Yeah, Meld is also an interesting one on Cardano. I think I generally know all the big projects being built on Cardano. Like I said, I'm no expert, right? I'm just starting my research. But I mean, yeah, we all have to start somewhere. Because even last year, like, I was like a low-key Bitcoin maxi, right? Because I just thought Bitcoin was the best thing to own. But obviously, like, now I'm like degen farming out of my ass on Ethereum, on Polygon. So, you know, you gotta keep an open mind because no one wants to talk to a maxi. It's just kind of cringy. Set up an interview with Charles. Doesn't he own a farm? I feel like that'll be funny. I think he's too busy to talk to some random dude on the internet, but there's a Japanese question. I'll answer it. ETH についてはあまりにもハイプされすぎていると思う。Actually, that question doesn't really make any sense. So I'm not going to answer it. But I mean, yeah. My Japanese has deteriorated over time, but I do still consider myself to be fluent. But anyways, let's go over, let's see. What am I doing? Oh, also, like, the one thing I wanted to touch on is, like, let me refresh this. So obviously Luna has done really well, right? I think Luna has been one of my better calls recently. I started talking about it. I think I made my first video on Luna July 1st when it was like under $6, and now it's like what the hell, right? I've obviously made a bunch of videos on Luna, so I'm not gonna waste your time on it, but I do want to touch on this one concept that, like, if you're watching this live stream, like, let's think about this for a moment, right? Because right now, like, I've been farming Mirror with roughly $10,000 for, let's say, 5 weeks, and I've earned 67 Mirror tokens, right? Which is worth a little under $300. But I was looking at this and I'm like, wow, like this is really good. I love this farm. I'm like being paid to buy stocks. And then I was thinking, wait, Mirror is on Coinbase. And there are people in the US that buy Mirror on Coinbase hoping it goes up. And I'm like, what? Like everyone that's watching this video live stream is like farming these things for free, and there are people buying this on Coinbase? It's kind of crazy, right? I think that's one of the reasons why it pays to like actually use these things, because like I can't even imagine buying this on Coinbase because like everyone's farming this for free, right? Because like for anyone that doesn't know Mirror, it's just like synthetic assets, and you can be paid to long assets and stuff. So for example, let's say like Coinbase, right? Like let's say you're bullish Coinbase, you can be paid 47% to long Coinbase. That's crazy. I think there was like an AMA section where AMA question where someone was asking like, what's the safest farm in crypto? And I think the safest with pretty good yields is going to be the Terra ecosystem, because you don't even have to have exposure to the price of Luna, right? Even though I do think Luna will trend up over time, because let's go into the spreadsheet. So this is my portfolio. I'm not going to spend too much time on it here. Let me update this. It's 19.2. So early July, I deployed 16.4K into Terra, 10K went to UST to farm with, and 6.4K went to the Luna token. Obviously, the Luna token went up a lot, so it's worth roughly this much right now. And I farmed, a decent amount of Mirror and Anchor tokens. So in 5 weeks, I'm up like roughly 10K. Pretty good. But hypothetically, like if you want to be super safe and you don't want price exposure to Luna, you can just do all this like without like buying volatile assets, right? So this is a new tab. Hypothetically, let's say you did the same thing that I did, but you owned 0 Luna and 16.4K of UST. Well, obviously, like you're gonna farm like whatever, like X here, and you're gonna have 0 Luna here, right? But with the 16.4K, you can put it on Anchor and earn 19.5%, right? I have some here. And you can use UST to farm. You can short farm. Maybe I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because I already have a bunch of videos on it, but like what you can do is you can, hypothetically, you can short, I'm just gonna focus on Twitter here because it's at the top. You can short Twitter for, let's say, $8,000, like half of it, and you can use the same amount of dollars to long farm. So you're delta neutral, so you don't really care if Twitter goes up or down, but you get to capture all this yield, right? So let's say you spend half of your UST to like do this, and then you can earn 58%, right? And you're earning Mirror tokens, and you're not really exposed to the price of Luna. So I'm gonna make an individual video on Luna, but I think Terra is the perfect place to be in a risk-off environment, right? So if you think the markets look toppy, if you think crypto is like going to go down, I think the Terra ecosystem is the best place to be, because you don't even have to buy Luna to make money. You can just like farm Mirror, farm Anchor. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, let's go to the Q&A section. I got a lot of questions. I think I got 53. So thanks for that. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this AMA section. I'm just gonna do this AMA section. So first question, what's your favorite Kanye song? For those that don't know, like Kanye is my favorite artist. I love Kanye. But I guess like I'm not like afraid to get rug pulled, because Kanye has rug pulled me so many times by not releasing his album on time, or just like not even releasing his album in general. But my favorite album is The College Dropout, because I love Jesus Walks. I love Never Let Me Down. I love Spaceship. I love his old music. Not a huge fan of Runaway, but looking forward to his new album. I haven't listened to it much. I'm just waiting for the official release, but who knows when that's going to be. So this is one of the things that is pretty stressful as a farmer, is that it's really hard to track your farms across different ecosystems because there's no product, right? I mean, you can use Zapper, and obviously, and that's why I'm trying to build this thing from scratch, right? Like I have this Aave simulator and all that. I'm like working on this farming tracker, but this is gonna be part of my Patreon that I'll be releasing in early September, right after I get back from vacation. So look out for that. But if there's any like good resources to like track DeFi stuff, please let me know, because I'm trying to build this by myself, but obviously it's kind of hard to like do everything in an Excel sheet. But I'm trying to build something by myself, but yeah, it kind of sucks. It just means that we're super early, right? So I get this question a lot. It's like, how do you farm in a bull market? Because some people like to sell all their assets into stable coins and farm with it. Well, like I mentioned, like you don't have to sell your assets, right? You can have exposure to Bitcoin and ETH, use it as collateral, borrow dollars, and farm with it, right? So in the past month or so, I've had the price appreciation of Bitcoin and ETH while still being able to farm with my dollars. So obviously you are taking some risk, right? Because you could be liquidated, but right now I have a super healthy health factor because I just like haven't looked into farms right now because I've been pretty busy with personal life. But that's something you can do. Like you don't have to sell your assets. That's the whole point of Aave, and that's why it's so powerful. Yeah, I kind of went over this with like, I think Terra is the safest possible yield right now, just because like, even if you don't want like, even the safest farmer can just like put UST on here and they're 19.5%. For ways to bridge on Terra, check out my latest video. I had a 43-minute video with Danku and Joseph talking about Columbus 5. Columbus 5 is also bullish because it kind of burns more Luna. I think it's overlooked. But yeah, check out those videos because you can have price exposure to this thing, which kind of goes up relentlessly. Obviously, I don't know when. I have no idea if this is a good time to buy. Like, I'm not a trader. I'm just a farmer. But I think Terra is the best place to be right now for the safest yield. Which, I mean, this is a hard question to answer. But I guess if you think about opportunities, you kind of have to be early in these ecosystems, right? And that's one of the reasons I talked about Avalanche and Cardano. Cardano might not be the best, right? Because there's already a lot of money in there. So it's kind of hard to be early into Cardano. But I believe Avalanche could be a good opportunity just because if developers build on it, there's only $200 million locked in Avalanche. And in the most bullish case scenario, that can go up to like 5-10 billion. And if that happens, I can see the Avalanche token like going up a lot in value. I still think Terra is a good one here. Polygon, I think Polygon was great in April, May, June, July, but I think it's starting to like be more slow. I don't know if people feel the same way, but I feel like, I mean, Polygon is still a great place to be, right? I mean, for example, Curve, you can earn like 24% on Bitcoin ETH. You can earn 11% on dollars, which is really, really good. But I'm starting to look into other ecosystems because I don't want to marry the Polygon ecosystem just because I've been in it for so long. So I might even take some of these assets off of Aave and put them into Benky. Not sure yet. Yeah, so for those that don't know, like Anchor on Terra just came out with ETH, right? So you can use ETH as collateral to borrow against it. And right now I have this much Luna and I'm borrowing money against my collateral and I'm being paid 23% to do so, right? So I'm paying 22% in interest. So like this value is gonna go up over time, right? But I'm being paid 45% in terms of Anchor tokens. So if I go to the govern tab, I have, how much do I have? Or maybe my page. Okay, I have 64 4 Anchor tokens, right? So I'm being paid a bunch of Anchor tokens to borrow. I mean, I'm being paid to borrow, right? It's great. So what you can do is you can put Luna as collateral, borrow against it, be paid 23%, and you can put your borrowed amount into here and earn 20% on top. So hypothetically, let's say you borrow $1,000, right? Using Luna as collateral, you can earn 23% on the $1,000. And then on top of that, you can earn 19.5%, right? I think that's pretty good. And that's one of the reasons I think it's a pretty safe place, because you don't even have to have exposure to volatile assets. You can just center everything around UST, which is the algorithmic stablecoin, which I think is a pretty safe asset. But speaking of this question, I'm personally like, I do want to put some of my ETH into Anchor, but right now it's really hard to get BETH, because what you have to do is you have to take your ETH on the Ethereum mainnet, stake it on Lido on the Ethereum mainnet, and then convert that into BETH on the Ethereum mainnet, and then bridge that BETH from the Ethereum mainnet to the Terra mainnet, right? Which I don't know, at these gas prices, I might have to pay like $300 in gas fees, which I'm not too interested. So I'm just waiting for, let's say like, I'm waiting for someone to list BETH on TerraSwap, right? Somewhere on here. It's not listed yet, but maybe it is. But yeah, I'm just waiting for someone to like provide liquidity. I'm sure it'll happen over time. I think there's a governance proposal for it. So I'm just waiting for that, and hopefully I can get BETH that way. So, which point am I satisfied with the research for you to jump into the farm? I mean, I guess like it's pretty simple, right? I mean, my research on Benky took like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh wow, it's a money market and it's backed by the Avalanche team. All right, I'm ready to jump into the farm. But for something that's more degen, I spend more time on it. So it obviously depends on the farm, depends on how risky it is. For money markets, I think it's pretty simple, right? If it's backed by a team, then hell yeah, I'll ape in. But if it's like a degen farm, you kind of have to do more research on who's backing it, who's behind the team, what are the tokenomics, and how do you see the price of this token going into the future. Yeah, and this is also the thing, like you don't want to spread yourself too thin, right? Because whenever you move assets into different platforms, you have to pay like Ethereum. You kind of have to go through the Ethereum mainnet most of the time, or you go through like Qcoin and like, you know, like the more degen shady ways to bridge into protocols. I usually just use the Ethereum mainnet just because it's simple for me. So typically I like try to limit myself to a few ecosystems, right? Because if you have 100K and you put 10K into like each ecosystem, then you know, what if you have 10K in like a really bad ecosystem, right? Then you're gonna have to bridge it back to Ethereum mainnet and then bridge it to like some other ecosystem and like pay like $100 in gas fees, which just suck. Yeah, so NFT is kind of insane, right? I kind of touched on it earlier in the stream, but it's crazy how like this NFT boom happened post EIP 1559, and now like a bunch of ETH is being burned by all these like NFT platforms like CyberKong. I don't even know what this is, but it's burning a lot of ETH. I actually minted like 5 NFTs back in March for like $200 just because like the team said they're gonna airdrop tokens to whoever mints it. So I'm like, okay, like, I know nothing about this NFT, but I'm just gonna mint them for the airdrop. And like I spent like $200 on that, and like now those NFTs total, right, 5 NFTs is like worth like 3K. It's like $600 each. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is for sure a bubble. I do like NFTs. I do want to own a CryptoPunk someday. I feel like CryptoPunks are going to be like, is going to act like the ETF for the NFT space. There's a bunch of good podcasts to listen to for NFTs. But I do think it's a bubble, a short-term bubble. I do think NFTs will be really big in the future. But I feel like I'm way too late if I'm trying to like buy NFTs and flip NFTs right now. I guess the resource impact of burning Luna. I mean, the simplest way to explain it is like if there's increase in demand for UST, then Luna has to be burnt, right? So how it works is you can always redeem $1 worth of Luna for 1 UST, right? So if everyone wants UST and the price goes to $1.05, hypothetically, then you can burn $1 worth of Luna to earn 1 UST, right? So you made a 5% profit, right? Because you burned $1 Luna, you got 1 UST, and you can sell that for a 5-cent profit. So I think the best resource you can track is just the market cap of UST. If the market cap of UST keeps going up, then Luna has to go up over time as well. Obviously, in the short term, anything can happen because EIP 1559 is burning ETH, but sometimes ETH price goes down because for a price to go up, the buy pressure has to, or I guess for the price to go down, the sell pressure has to overcome the buy pressure and the burn pressure, right? Which can always happen. So I think the best place to track the likeliness of whether this thing is going to go up over time is tracking the market cap of UST. Yeah, so I do not have an ADA bag. I'm just waiting for smart contracts to go live because I'm not really sure what the timeline is going to be. Like, our app's going to be built, our app's going to launch on the 12th, or is it going to take some time? So I'm like in wait and see mode. I'm just letting you guys know that I'm watching it, and I'm just letting you guys know that, hey, you should look into it, right? Because I think it's going to present a pretty cool opportunity. Yeah, touch on liquid finance. Indigo is like a synthetic asset protocol. Yeah, it's essentially an Aave mirror. So, I guess all the hype, if the hype is true, I think it's going to be a pretty good place to farm, but I'm just in wait and see mode. Yeah, so for DinoSwap, I took profits. I think, or I mentioned in my last farms of the week that I just took out my initial capital, right, just to not get wrecked. But with the recent price movements, I just like took all profits, right? So I'm no longer in Dino. I'm still in this pool though. I'm farming it on Define. I'm earning 35%. Yeah, so I've been in this for a few days, I think, or like 4 days. I forget. What am I doing? Yeah, so, like I said, I never marry a farm. My stop loss was $1.60. I took a bunch of profits then, and like, it just like did not look good, so I just like cut bait, right? At the peak, I think I had, right, like at the top, I had like over 14K in profits, and I ended up only getting 6K in profits, which kind of sucks, but with these things, you can never time the top, right? I mean, it's impossible to time the top. And I always mention that hope is not a strategy either. So instead of just hoping it goes up, I just like said, you know what, like I'm gonna cut bait. I'm gonna focus on future opportunities like Avalanche and just cut bait with my profits. I'm still like tracking it, right? I mean, I'm still in the Telegram, Discord and whatnot. But like never marry a farm. Always be okay taking profits, and yeah, that's the whole gist of it. I guess the question is like why do you believe in the humble farmer thesis? Like, aren't you gonna miss out? Well, let's think about it, right? Like, let's look at Harmony and the Phantom, who does not fulfill the humble farmer thesis. Did I miss out on anything? Not really, because there's like the farming opportunities on Phantom and Harmony doesn't really exist, right? I mean, there are some, right? Like on Phantom, there's Tomb Finance, which is pretty good, and on Harmony, there's Sushi and Viper Swap. But that's only it. Like, there's not that many things built on it. So if you look at if you think about, did I miss out? The answer is like not really, which kind of adds value, or which like is like a evidence that the humble farmer thesis kind of works, whether it actually works or not. No, I do not. No, I do not. What are the facts? When it will happen? Well, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, when the TVL of Avalanche surpasses TVL of Ethereum, which is very unlikely. So, I don't think Avalanche is going to ever overtake Ethereum. I think you're kidding yourself if you actually think that's going to happen. But, I think they're on the right track. I think it could be a good place to farm. And yeah, Benky is a good first step. Yeah, security measures, like I always have assets spread across different platforms, right? So I have some in DeFi, I have some on Terra, some on Polygon, some on Ethereum, and I have some on BlockFi, some centralized exchanges. I'm always just spreading my bets out, which is kind of annoying, right? But I feel like it's good to just not have all your eggs in one basket. I also diversify my portfolio, and my biggest assets in my portfolio is Bitcoin and ETH, and I feel like I'm doing pretty well for myself if I can just hold Bitcoin and ETH as collateral, borrow against it, and farm, right? I feel like if you take a 5-year view, anyone that's doing this strategy will probably be doing pretty well for themselves. Yeah, I kind of touched on this, but yeah, I kind of want to focus on a few ecosystems instead of putting money in everything. I don't think that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, so this is an interesting question. I'm still thinking about it. Why do you think the Stegosaurus failed? I thought it was going to work, but in hindsight, the price action didn't really follow. The simplest answer is I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm just a retail investor that spends a little too much time studying crypto. But I think all of the data points were there for the Stegosaurus to work. So the fact that it didn't work, I guess a few things could happen, right? Maybe the VCs just took profits because they thought that there was opportunity cost of holding Dino, right? So maybe they just sold all their Dino to buy Ethereum. That could be one. It could also mean that, hey, maybe the team was just bad, right? Maybe the team just didn't execute, right? If you follow Dino, the team is trying really, really hard, but maybe their design is just not good. So even though they had backing, even though they had lots of money, maybe just the farm design wasn't that good. Maybe the deflationary pressures just weren't enough to overcome the inflationary pressures, and they're taking out random farms to try to counteract inflation. But I think at this point it's going to be really, really hard to switch the sentiment around the farm. I'm still tracking it, but I think the chances of Dino going to the moon is very, very low. And that's why I always say don't marry farm. All farm tokens are designed to go to zero at some point. So although I predicted this will last maybe a few months, it kind of died after a month, which is sad to see, but maybe this is the bottom. I don't know, but that's how I think about it. Yeah, so I'm gonna touch on this quickly because I'm still designing it for the Patreon. So for those that don't know, I don't run ads on this channel. I don't have referral links. I don't have promo codes. I don't do paid shills, right? I don't get paid through YouTube. So the way I want to monetize for myself, because I do have to monetize at some point, is following Benjamin Cohen's model, right? He also doesn't run ads, but he has a paid group where he has a bunch of people to subscribe to his alpha, right? For me, the way I think about it is my YouTube is free alpha, right? And that's never going to change. I'm still going to keep making videos 3 to 4 times a week and update you guys on what I'm doing. But the Patreon is going to be just more alpha, right? And also have, I guess, more content on how I think about things. And this is not live. I don't think anyone can see this, but this is how I'm thinking about it. So as some of you guys know, I spend a lot of time doing these live streams. It's not just random TA live streams. I'm just drawing lines and stuff. I actually spend a few hours every live stream to create these slides to go over these things. And I think I'm gonna have monthly live streams, 1 or 2 per month for Patreons only. I'm gonna have a private Discord group or Telegram because I feel farming, I guess in crypto, it's kind of an isolating job in general. Because you don't really have coworkers, right? You just do everything by yourself. So I think the Discord is going to be a place for me to post daily updates, right? See what I'm doing, post what I'm doing, because I can't really give daily updates on YouTube. It just doesn't logistically make sense. But if I have a Discord group, I can do that, and I think it's going to be a good way to meet people, other fellow farmers, I think the Discord is going to be like the main value add. Obviously, access to the Humble Farmer spreadsheet. I have a bunch of tabs here: APY calculator, simulator, Terra stuff, mirror tracker, all that. So that's what I'm thinking about. And then I'll have weekly videos, 1 to 2 a week. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. You can't find this because it's like not launched yet. This is like a test, but this is what I'm thinking of. Probably gonna launch like early September. I'm going to Vegas for vacation on the 1st to the 5th. So when I get back, I'll do that. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. But if I do one, it'll be free. It'll probably be like a free NFT to give to like my patrons or something. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm not a trader. I can't tell you, right? I mean, what I can say is that like what I'm gonna do is like I don't like care what the price of ADA is like right now or next month. I'm just gonna evaluate the farming environment when smart contracts do go live. So, I mean, if the price of ADA is like $5 when smart contracts go live, but there are a bunch of good farms that utilize ADA, then yeah, I'll purchase some ADA and farm with it. Maybe I'll focus on stablecoin farming if the price of ADA is really, really high. But it's impossible to say for now. And right now, I have no interest in buying ADA. I'm just gonna wait until the smart contracts do go live. Yeah. So, like I said, like if Cardano does well, then SundaeSwap will have to do well. It could become a blue chip for Cardano ecosystem. I don't think it's going to overtake Uni or Sushi in terms of market cap, but I think the safest form on Cardano when it launches is going to be SundaeSwap or Liquid, just because they're the largest, right? The largest usually tend to be the safest. So that's what I'm thinking about. So it obviously depends, right? Like if the APY is like 1,000%, then like I don't give a shit about impermanent loss because all the farm token is gonna mitigate the downside of impermanent loss. However, if you're farming some like random altcoin and you're being paid like 20% APY, then yeah, you should worry about impermanent loss because if the token of that goes up a lot, then you're gonna just get wrecked, right? You're gonna underperform significantly. So there's no black and white answer. Just depends on the situation. Yeah, I mean, everything is cheaper than Ethereum, right? I mean, Ethereum is by far the number one DeFi ecosystem, but it prices people like you and I out. So Avalanche, I think the transaction fees are going to be like maybe like 30 cents. Who knows? I think I've done like one transaction on Avalanche and I paid like 30 cents. That's why I say it, but I think it's going to go down just because they haven't introduced dynamic pricing for fees. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, this is the last question. So yes, right? Like over time, these yields are going to go down, right? Because as more and more money enters the ecosystem, it's going to dilute our yields. And people think that's a bad thing, right? But in reality, it's a good thing, right? Because that means that DeFi and crypto is becoming more mainstream, right? Imagine where the TVL in all these DeFi ecosystems go up 50x, right? And the yields go down by half, right? Are we going to be sad? Probably not, because our Bitcoin, our ETH, and like whatever crypto bags you're holding, as long as they're not scams, they're probably going to be up like 10x or something, right? So I think the value of farming is by actually using these protocols, you understand them better. And by understanding them better, you can make more educated guesses on which ecosystems will do well, which DeFi protocols will do well, and just be more sophisticated than like buying some altcoin because like whatever YouTuber says it's going to 10x or something. So yields are going to go down, but that's fine because at that point, then crypto is mainstream and hopefully you own tokens that's not going to go to zero. So that being said, I'm going to look at the chat, answer some questions. I've been talking for 80 minutes now, or 70 minutes now. I'm a little tired, so hopefully I'm going to take a breather, drink some water, and look at the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I guess the NFT, like, what would be cool is like, I mean, this is like my pure hopium, but hypothetically, like, let's say I do a Patreon, right? And I give like, what is it? It's called the Humble Yield Farmer Alliance, right? Because we're all trying to make money together, and we're gonna educate each other and whatnot. Let's say like anyone that's been in it for like 4 months gets like a degree of being a humble farmer. And what if yield farm protocols in the future give rewards to anyone that holds that NFT, right? Wouldn't that be cool? Obviously, like I can't predict the future, but I feel like that's the only way that I would do an NFT is like I'll give it away to anyone in this, and hopefully in the future, like protocols can reward humble farmers because they want humble farmers on their side by giving them better rewards and whatnot. Did I touch on something? But yeah. I'm based in California. How do you feel about L1, L2, L3 Ponzi yield farms? I mean, you kind of said it yourself, right? I mean, it's a Ponzi yield farm. It's funny because, like, obviously all farm tokens are designed to go to zero, right? So what these farms do is, like, they first launch a token, it's about to go to zero, and they're like, all right, layer 2, new token, right? And they do the same thing over and over again. And as the layer 2 token trends to zero, they're like, all right, new token, layer 3. And it's just like this perpetual loop, and right? And like maybe the layer 1 lasts like 20 days. The layer 2 will last 15 days. The layer 3 will last 10 days. And it's just like the lifespan will get shorter and shorter. And at some point it's going to collapse. But it is what it is, right? And if you do the research, I'm sure you can make money off of them. But me personally, I'm not too interested right now. I'm just focused on other ecosystems. Right now, I'm taking the time to do more research. Because research does pay off, right? Because like when the market dumped in May, I took the time when the markets were like less bullish to study other ecosystems, and I fell into Luna as a really good place to park my capital. And look what Luna did, right? So you don't always have to be like throwing money around in like different farms. It's okay, like just put your assets into some safe farm, right? Farm it for a week. It's okay, like 20% APY, whatever. And just do the research, learn about these ecosystems. I talked about Avalanche and Cardano. I suggest everyone just follow these protocols on Twitter, just keep up with the news, and who knows, right? Maybe follow DOT, right? Follow the Polkadot ecosystem, follow the Harmony ecosystem. What else? I heard about Elrond, right? I haven't really looked into Elrond, but maybe that's something you should look into. It definitely pays to be in the know. It pays to be early. So just always keep learning, always keep doing the research. Use me as a data source, right? Just because I talk about something, don't just ape into it, right? Because like I'm making educated guesses. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In the case of Luna, it was great. I remember I made this video on July 4th, right? I released like the hour-long video on July 4th. It was like $6, and I bought it. I came back from Hawaii and I bought it at like $7.70, and then like everyone made fun of me because it went down to $6, and now it's just like up only. So, and the reason I feel comfortable holding Luna is I can use it as collateral on Anchor, right? It's like whenever I can earn yield on assets, it kind of allows me to be more confident in holding it, because even if it does, like, let's say dump next week to like 20%, hey, at least I'm like borrowing against it and earning yield. Obviously you have to borrow a safe amount, but I love earning yield on my assets because it mitigates the downside, and if it does go up, then more gravy on top, more cherry on top. It's all gravy. Let's see. I'm not interested in Arbitrum because they have limitations on the amount of transactions per day, and if they're gonna limit the usage on layer 2 ETH, then why would I deploy capital there? Don't get me wrong. Let's say next year, like when the limits are lifted, I think I'm gonna ape into that ecosystem. But for now, I'm not that interested. I'm not bullish Bitcoin DeFi. I am bullish on Jack Dorsey though. If Twitter can make Bitcoin DeFi like the front end of it, then yeah, like I might put some Bitcoin there. But like, I'm more bullish Ethereum based DeFi than Bitcoin DeFi. Yeah, I like Solana, but I think Solana is going to be a top 5 chain. But there's no money market, so I'm not going to deploy capital in there, right? I'm a simple guy. Like, if there's a money market, I go there. If there's no money market, I don't go there. Emphasis on the trusted and reliable money market. I know there are money markets on Solana, like Oxygen is one, but it's not user-friendly to use, and it's still really, really new, so there's an opportunity cost of being there, in my opinion right now. But in the future, I will be aping. And that's the general message behind everything, all these ecosystems, is that, yes, I like them, but is it worth my time right now? No. So like, why would I even bother? Yeah, people are just spamming Solana. Like, all right, guys, I get it. You guys hold backs, but I'm not gonna deploy capital there. What the hell? All right, I'm just gonna ignore that. Okay. Any recent non-crypto investments? I guess like I bought Galaxy Digital, right? That's the thing too. Like, U.S. stocks are just like Ponzi's, right? It just goes up, and if you can be paid to long U.S. stocks, like, why not, right? And as an American, I have access to most of these assets, but the one assets that I don't have access to is Galaxy, right? Because I think it's a Canadian company, so I took the opportunity to long Galaxy. I'm up like, yeah, I think I put like $6,900, and I'm up like 10% on it. And on top of that, I earned 35 Mirror. So I think Mirror is severely underrated. I'm not that bullish to Mirror token, right? Maybe I should be selling this, because I'm just not too bullish governance tokens in general. Right? You can love an application but not be bullish to token. For example, I love Aave, but I don't own any. Maybe that'll change in the future, but because if you think about it, like, everyone is earning Mirror for free, so of course it's probably gonna go down. It's kind of hard to imagine that Mirror used to be like $12. Like, who is buying it up here? It's kind of crazy to think about. It's kind of crazy to think about how all these tokens just enter bubbles. Because imagine being the farmer that was farming Mirror and just like dumping it to people on the way up. Obviously, who knows? This might be a bottom, but I'm just more comfortable just like farming and dumping these things. Like, this is Anchor, right? I love Anchor, but I'm not that bullish to token. It is what it is. Let's see. So one of the reasons I don't talk about Ethereum farms is because, I mean, who the hell farms on Ethereum, right? I mean, I get it. If you're a millionaire, then yeah, you can farm on Ethereum and farm these governance tokens. But like, keeping it real, like I can't afford Ethereum, so let's use Polygon, let's use Terra, let's use Avalanche, maybe Cardano. Like, when and if I can farm on Ethereum, I'll definitely do so because I'm most bullish on the Ethereum ecosystem. But like, why would I talk about Ethereum farms when like no one else can do it, right? I talk more about practical strategies that we can all do, rather than I don't know, like paying $50 in transaction fees. Yeah, I'm going to Vegas to play poker. I'm not going to play any tournaments. I'm just going with friends, high school friends and college friends that haven't seen in a while, and play mostly cash games. So maybe you can play with me. Hopefully, I'll take your money. Yeah, Lou says basically the Fed is doing liquidity mining rewards for stocks. That's kind of true, right? Because if you think about it, like if you think about liquidity mining programs, for example, Mirror, right? Mirror is paying you to essentially like participate in these protocols, right? Because that's how they grow. And if you think about it, like if you buy stocks, the Fed is going to reward you with more money. Who knows? Maybe we're in a bubble. A lot of doomers say we're in a bubble. Maybe that's true, but like, hey, like I'm not gonna call a top on. Like, look at this thing. The weekly chart of the S&P, right? It's like, how can you not own this? Or anyone that like thinks the stocks are too risky during this entire uptrend is just like coping, right? It's like, I mean, this is pretty scary though. Like, look at this. This is like the up only market we were promised, right? But anyways, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I've been talking for like 81 minutes. I got rugged by Wi-Fi in between, so hopefully when I look back on this live stream, it's not bad or anything. But yeah, Stairway to Heaven. Hopefully this was helpful. Yeah, make sure to leave in the comment section what you thought about like Avalanche, Cardano, because I'm still learning. I guess there's not much to learn just because there's like not much being built on it, but yeah, I think it pays to do research. It pays to be early, and look into Benky. I'll be deploying assets to Benky. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a good day, and yeah, hodl on. Big ups to Wi-Fi for not writing us. Yeah.